Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderful Gaming. In today's video we're going to take a look at the Ossiarch Bonereapers Tithe-Reaper Echelon for Warhammer Age of Sigmar Spearhead. Today's video is sponsored by Gap Games, a fantastic miniature wargaming store in Queensland, Australia. They stock a wide variety of miniature wargames from all things Games Workshop to some of my personal favourites, Conquest, The Last Argument of Kings, and all things Modifius wargames as well. Use our affiliate code in the link below to help support both this fantastic store and the channel as well. Our formation for this particular Spearhead has our general as a Mortison Soul Reaper. Unit wise we have 2 units of 10 Mortec Guard, 5 Cavalos Death Riders and 1 Gothazar Harvester. Battle trait wise, we first of all have Reserve Contingent. This means that one of our Mortec Guard units is not set up during the deployment phase. Instead, from the 3rd battle round onwards, it can use the following ability. This is called Contingent Arrival and is used during the movement phase. The effect of it is set up this unit anywhere on the battlefield, wholly within 3 inch of the battlefield edge and more than 6 inch from all enemy units. It's also got the core keyword as well there. Now this does mean that we're going to have some of our troops come on later in the game. We've got a pretty hardy force with some heavy hitters. Mortec Guard themselves are really good defensive pieces, so being able to bring one later into the game is going to really help us with objective control. Now looking into those regiment abilities, the first of these is an Ossiarch command. In fact, both of our abilities here and our options are Ossiarch commands. The first is Impenetrable Ranks. We can use this once per battle during any combat phase and pick any friendly unit to use this, and until the end of the phase we add one to the ward rolls of that unit. This is pretty solid. We're death units, so we've always got that 6-up ward there, so being able to guarantee we're going to have that 5-up ward once per game is a really solid way to keep our units in the fight longer. Reform Ranks is the other, and this is once per battle during your movement phase. You can pick a friendly Mortec Guard unit in the combat to use this ability, and you can use a retreat with any mortal damage not being inflicted on your unit. I think both of these are really solid. We do have ways to replenish models in our unit, though we are pretty elite in the earlier game. We don't have that many models on the table, so Reform Ranks is not shabby. But I do think if you're playing right and you're on sort of the upper hand, Reform Ranks is going to be as useful because you can just replenish your ranks later. Impenetrable Ranks, I think for me, is probably my go-to, but it will depend what you're playing. Reform Ranks could be really good if you've got someone that comes in and ties you up really early and you just need to maneuver and get out there. But Impenetrable Ranks will mean you can move up yourself and sit on. So I think if you're playing a fast enemy, you probably go Reform Ranks. If you're playing something slower where you can actually get up the table and get onto the objectives, Impenetrable Ranks would be where I would go. Enhancement wise, we have 1 of 4 to give our general, and our general is a character that is a wizard first of all, but does have a slightly decent combat profile. It's not too shabby for a wizard. The first of these abilities though is Empower Netherite Weapons. This is a spell that can be used during the hero phase and increases the rend of a unit's of Mortec Guard's weapons by 1. I think this is just really solid. This makes our Mortec Guard an actual punchy unit as well as being solid defensively. Unstoppable Commander is next. We can pick a friendly Mortec Guard unit wholly within 12 inch and add 3 to that unit's move on the d6 roll of 2+. Murderous Drive, it gives your Soul Reaper's Scythe from your general crit 2 hits, which is pretty cool. And then the Marrow Pact. Each time your general uses a fire ability, after all attacks have been resolved, heal X, where X is the number of damage your general caused. This for me is probably the weak link in the 3. I don't think it's particularly good. We're not going to get that much damage through with our general, even though, you know, for a wizard he's pretty decent in a fight. Just if we could combine it with Murderous Drive, it would be cool. And if Murderous Drive and this were the same thing, crit 2 hits plus healing from it would be a solid one. But I think either two just don't stack up to the other 2. Unstoppable Commander is really nice. We are relatively slow. So this could maybe be one you're wanting to pick if you are playing against a, say, faster army. So wanting to get that extra movement in the turn to get your Mortec Guard up the table. It's maybe something you do. Otherwise, Power Netherite Weapons if you're playing with someone who has got some really tough units and are hard to crack. Speaking of our general, it is the Mortison Soul Reaper. The model has 5 health, a 5-inch move, 4+ save, and control score of 2. The Tithe-Reaper Scythe has 3 attacks, hitting on 4s, wounding on 3s with Rend 2, damage 2. Now obviously we can get crit 2 hits in there, which actually does make the Tithe-Reaper Scythe pretty devastating, you know. Rend 2, damage 2 is not too shabby. I mean, if you get lucky and it spikes with those crit 2 hits, it certainly is going to be worth it, but I think just the others are better. You do have the Hero Face spell Drawing Vitality, where you can subtract 1 from hit rolls made by a target enemy unit. This is pretty cool. It is easy to counter because pluses to hit are easier to come by, but still having to force your opponent to go back to 5s than to 4s is probably where I would use. If your opponent's already on 3s and they go down to 4s, then just put it back up to 3s. It's not the best use. But we do also have Renit Construct, which is an Ossiarch command. You can pick a friendly unit holding within 12 inches of this unit that is not in combat, and you heal D3 the target, and if it's not a damaged target, you can bring back D3 wounds worth of models, but they must be full models. A pretty cool ability nonetheless. I think being able to heal, being able to put some rend, this would be a really solid piece to sort of hold your lines around. And of course, speaking of our lines, we have the Mortar Guard. 1 health each, 4-inch move, 4+ save, control score 1. We've got that ward 6+ like always because we are a death unit. And the Netherite Spears are our weapons with 2 attacks each, hitting on 3s, wounding on 4s with no rend, damage 1, and the anti-charge +1 rend ability. It's pretty cool because when we consider this unit also can have Netherite Assault, which until the end of the phase, this unit's melee weapons have crit 2 hits, and Ossiarch command we can take. If we've got all our buffs on them, they can actually be quite devastating to something that charges into them. They have 2 attacks each, hitting on 3s, could potentially be 2s if we've used a regular command point, wounding on 4s, then we would have rend 1 if we've got the spell on them, the Empower Netherite weapons. There'd be damage 2 thanks to anti-charge +1 rend, but there'd also be doing crit 2 hits on those crits as well, which is really cool. I think there's some really good like combos that you can play within this force that I really like, and if this is a force where you like bringing together all those pieces, stacking up those buffs, then Bonereapers is certainly one of the ones to look for. Next are the Kavalos Death Riders. Now these are our faster moving unit, 3 health each, 10-inch move, as I said, faster moving, 4+ save, control score of 1, and of course that ward there as well. They've got their Netherite Spears in there, which are 3 attacks at 3s to hit, 4s to wound, rend 1, damage 1 with the charge +1 damage, so these are going to be our more offensive unit. Bonereapers really do act as this sort of full force army, like they have, you know, the units that want to charge, units that want to defend, they have monsters, they have spellcasters. It's a really fun sort of combined arms army, which I really like. Now, you've got a couple of extra attacks there from the steeds, hooves and teeth as well. They're okay, they are what you expect for steeds. They've got the Death Rider Wedge though, which is a charge phase ability, and the following effects apply to this phase. Models in the unit can pass across enemy infantry models as if the unit had fly, and after this unit has charged, you can pick an enemy unit it passed across and roll a dice. On a 2+, you inflict D3 mortal damage onto that enemy unit. Now there's a couple of things here. First of all, the one that pops to your head when you're doing this is you're able to attack behind an enemy unit. So being able to charge and move completely over and attack something that's maybe exposed at the back behind the unit that was initially in your way is pretty cool. You know, being able to get a juicy character, a shooting unit or war machine or something they're trying to protect behind there, a unit on an objective even, is a cool thing to be able to do, and obviously dealing mortal damage to the unit you move across. But another thing, if you are doing a longer charge and you roll just over an inch, what that allows you to do is actually slightly move over your opponent, then just move back. So you move into your opponent, you know, half an inch, move back half an inch, and you've moved over that unit, so you'd actually be able to deal damage to the unit you've moved into, because you've moved into the unit and then back out. So there's nothing stopping you doing the mortal damage that way. Lastly, we have the Gothizzar Harvester, and this model has 10 health, a 6-inch move, 4+ save, and control score of 5. It actually has a ranged weapon with 12-inch range, 4 attacks, 4s and 4s, rend 1, damage 1. Nothing too great to write home about, but it's there. In combat though, it has its melee weapons with Soul Crusher Bludgeons, 6 attacks, 4s to hit, 2s to wound, rend 2, damage 2, and another 4 attacks from its ossified hooves and tail for 4s to hit, 3s to wound, rend 1, damage 2, so quite a bit of punch coming out of it. Now, Bone Harvest is each time an enemy model in combat with this unit is slain, this unit gains 1 Bone Tithe point. It can never have more than 6 Bone Tithe points. Now, it should be said each time the model in combat with this unit is slain. So this doesn't mean this model has to slay it. It could be a unit next to this model that actually slays it, but if this model's in combat with the units that's slain, had model slain, it will get those Bone Tithe points. It picks up pieces that, you know, its comrades have killed. The end of any turn ability Repair Construct is what these points are for, and you can pick a friendly Mortek Guard unit within 6 inch, then roll a dice for each Bone Tithe point you've collected. For each 4+, you return a model to the target unit, and then you reset your number back to 0 for your Bone Tithe points. Pretty cool ability. Like I said, there's a good recursion in your force, allowing you to keep those Mortek Guard in the fight longer, and they are pretty hard to remove. Not only that, but this model hits pretty hard. It's a monster, it's got a 6-up ward there as well. We hope this video was helpful in getting you started with Warhammer Age of Sigmar Spearhead, and that it was able to give you some ideas and inspiration to start your own force in the game. If you have any other questions at all, please comment them down below. And while you're there, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe, and join our Discord server to check out all of our future Warhammer Age of Sigmar content.